Hello and welcome to my TED Talk on assessment. Today we're talking about assessment in the context of teaching and learning, and I love the idea of assessment meaning to sit beside. The Latin root for the word assessment means to sit beside, and that falls right in line with my teaching philosophy, and I will argue that that is the necessary prerequisite to have accurate assessment. We need to set up the learning environment in a way that children feel respected and capable and able to do the things that they need to do in order for us to get accurate assessments. The other piece that we'll be talking about today is whether grading helps with that or hinders that. So it is about the relationship. It's setting yourself in the class as part of the class as one of the learners. You're the leader, but you're also one of the learners. So you want to have those strong relationships. It's about leadership, motivation, creating meaning. As the leader, you need to model the expected behavior. You need to show vulnerability. You have to do that with integrity and honesty and in a genuine fashion. One of the things that I want to see, that I want to set up in my classroom to help with learning stems from Carol Dweck's work, her book Mindset. It is, I think it should be mandatory reading for education students. She talks about, in simple terms, a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. And when I think about assessment and I think about grading within that, it very much falls into the fixed mindset. People in the fixed mindset will allow others' judgments of them, the grades, etc., to define them. And that's one of the arguments for removing grading. There are other aspects to it, some of the demotivating factors as well. But and there are other opponents to this, many of these ideas, to the idea of grading. When we think about Carol Dweck's work in mindset, having a growth mindset, that applies not just to the students but to the teacher. I believe that we're all in this to learn, and if you have the atmosphere set up, the growth atmosphere, the growth mindset in the atmosphere of trust, then the entire class, the entire community is in that growth mindset and able to move forward and have accurate assessments, assessing each other, assessing the teacher, and all of us having this dialogue with each other, moving our learning forward. That's the picture I'm trying to paint. That's the idea that I have, and there are other researchers that would back this up. Alfie Kohn is one of those people for a number of years now, since at least the mid '90s, has been an opponent to grading and looking to reform how we teach and how we assess. Some other work that I wanted to mention is the author Daniel Pink, who is a motivation researcher. He wrote the book Drive. He found that rewards, sort of behavioralist ideas around the carrot and stick, rewards work in the short term with low cognitive functions in the business world. So people will work for money and they'll work harder on lower cognitive tasks. But as the task becomes more challenging, those incentives no longer work. And similar findings exist within other areas, education as an example, that it's short-term extrinsic motivation that is not successful in the long term. We're wanting children to be intrinsically motivated to achieve, stay in that growth mindset. Recently, I was at a school, Putnam School, and I loved the way that the grade 3 teacher performed her assessment. Initially, she would have the children come up to the board. This particular day, it was regarding math, and this is actually how she reports out to the parents as well. They use e-portfolios, but they will put a sticky note on the area of the board that corresponds with where they believe they are at that time. So they are meeting grade level expectations with direct support, with guided support, or independently. And it was fabulous to see. They were using metacognition to think about their learning. They put the sticky notes up. They went and did the task. Then they came back, reassessed. Some of them stayed the same, some of them moved. And that was a very similar way that she reported out to parents on the e-portfolios. And I loved it. I thought that illustrated really well what I would like to see in my classroom and many classrooms. And that is an atmosphere of trust, where we look at our learning from a growth mindset perspective. We're able to self-assess using metacognition, where you don't look at failures or setbacks as a bad thing, but merely an opportunity for growth, for learning. And those are some of the examples that I wanted to use to illustrate the point. A couple of other researchers that I wanted to talk about are Gabor Mate. I recently saw him speak in Courtenay, and he has a phrase: you have to collect them before you direct them. And it would be well worth taking a look at his work. But again, building on the relationship before you can teach and before you can get accurate assessments. The Harvard Business Review recently had an article that had a similar call it a catchphrase, but connect them. Sorry, it's connect then lead, and it's the idea that you have to establish the relationship first. And so the subtext to that article is it better to be feared or loved? And they reference Machiavelli. But the research showing that it's better to be loved, and in the case of teaching, I mean, it's better to have children understand that you genuinely care for them than for them to be fearful of a bad grade. It reminds me of a saying that I heard from a principal a few years ago. They don't care how much you know, they know how much you care. And I think all of this, I'm hoping that all of this is helping to illustrate my point that the atmosphere, the learning atmosphere, is crucial. That needs to be set up first in order to get accurate assessments. We need to then use a variety of assessment techniques: self-assessment, peer assessment, and then the teacher, ideally as the authoritative member of the class, one of the other learners, but the teacher in there doing the assessment as well, and it'll spill over into the community and into their families also. So in closing, I would just ask that you think a little bit about how you might implement some of these ideas into your teaching, and I look forward to your comments and your feedback. Thank you.